All right, well, welcome back to This Week in Accounting AI. This is episode number 6, and I'm joined again by my buddy over here, Matt Barbieri.
Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you. Little bit of a detour, I think, this week, although it does still apply to AI, and we'll get into that. But I wanted to talk about the piece that I wrote about, which is basically why has the accounting industry it's almost like laughable at times, right? But why has it had to be such a soul-crushing industry at times? And I know that we've been through the war, 25 years, I would say, together.
That's right.
So we have a lot of history. We have a lot to share about that history and a lot of hope and optimism that we'll get too. But I think just to start it off, what was your take on the piece and how did it resonate with you?
Yeah. So context, I was away last week. I was on vacation. I was on a cruise. And so I was in beautiful sunny weather. I was calm. I was, enjoying my time. And you had sent me a message and it was nighttime. Everybody was asleep. And you were like, hey, I wrote something up. I want you to take a quick look at it. So imagine my frame of mind, right? I'm unwinding everything and getting into the vacation mode. And I read it and full honesty, it was like an emotional read that I didn't expect to be emotional. I didn't know what you wrote. I had no idea what it was before I started reading it. And I read it and it just it hit me. And I started going almost negative at first.
Yeah.
Like, man, you've done a lot of wasted stuff and that sort of thinking process. Overall, man, I just can't imagine that it didn't speak to almost anybody that's been in accounting. It's so relevant. So I was appreciative. It took me the night to go through it and process it. And the next day, and I'm like, this is the Renaissance. This is the time. This is what it's meant to be. We're in the right spot. We're where we're meant to be. I can personally say I'm where I'm supposed to be. Yeah. And so that helped me understand that, and it helped frame kind of why the past is the past. So I appreciate you writing it. I really do.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. So what would you do? What do you think the audience of a 25 to 30-year-old would think of the piece?
I didn't have these questions in advance, so I'm gonna answer it live. It's really hard to have somebody have an experience that they haven't had.
Yeah.
So you could tell somebody, man, it really stinks to go through that. Right? You think about things you read on the news, you can feel slightly empathic. It's really hard to have empathy for something you haven't gone through. It's a skill that's difficult. So when I think of how that would resonate with a 25, 26-year-old, I don't know that it's going to be as meaningful. I think the people it's going to be the most meaningful for are people in and around our age range, and certainly within the last, anyone that's been in the profession in the last 15 years, because of how just accurate it is in the way that most of these people feel, right? You go to college, you go through so much training, and I believe it comes from a place of wanting to be helpful and valuable and be valued for what you're providing. And then when you come into the profession, you learn just how hard that is to do because of
Why
limitations.
is that, you think? I mean, if we think about our experience, do you think that it's much different for the 25 to 30-year-old today?
Is the question, do I believe it will be different for
No,
them?
right now. Do you think that their first 4 to 5 years, let's just say, in the profession,
Right.
do you think it's changed much from when we started?
Yes. So I do believe it's changed. And I do
In what
believe,
ways?
The reliance on tools and tools that are actually more helpful. And the workflows, I would say communication, like a variety of things. But I really feel strongly that we're at the precipice of a significant change for them, especially for the early people. I think that they're going to be accelerated in their careers just so much faster.
Right.
Because, I think we'll get into it a little bit more about just there's so much waste that goes on within accounting.
Yep.
That's lost to tools that just didn't produce what we thought they would, or the promise was.
I guess if you think about it, though, from my perspective, I feel that when I talk to other firms, other people at other firms, It seems though structurally it hasn't adapted though. Like if we look at the 25 to 30-year-old and the experience they're getting, which is different from our experience because there's better technology, there's
Right.
better tools that they're starting to get to, right? Culturally though, I think it's the same.
Yeah, if that was your question,
Yeah, yeah,
here's cultures feel, right?
yeah,
It feels the same when
yeah.
we're separated by floors, and when I go into assurance and tech, the feeling is the same. You could
Yeah.
feel the room. So yeah, to
And
that
that's what I'm
end,
trying to really like figure out in a way, because I think that the tools are going to continue to get better. I mean, we know that, and we're going
right,
to, of course, that's like our whole episode. It's
right,
like, is about, AI and the benefits of what AI is giving us now and what it's going to do in the future. But I think that what my concern, I think, for the industry is just because we haven't adapted to a different way structurally and more collaboratively, I just think of the challenges it's going to present to bring these tools in. And we're seeing already that there are a lot of firms that have not even brought it at a very rudimentary level,
yeah,
let alone trying to change workflows. I mean, they're not even letting a user
right.
use it.
I mean, I think we'll find that to be a mistake.
Yeah.
For people that haven't embraced it, but the the structure almost rewards a silo or a protection as it exists today, right? Like I am the master of this domain, whatever it is, and I own that. And
Mm-hmm.
that is generally knowledge, right? Like
Yeah.
I have something unique that nobody else has. This is mine, and I'm going to do what I can to protect it. And that is counter to the client experience. That's counter to a firm's ultimate utility, right, for its culture. So
Yeah.
there has to be an opening, a collaboration between everybody in order for it to work the way that it should. And AI will help unlock a lot of that kind of cordoned off knowledge right
Right.
now. And it's going to allow it to be more free flowing, which is going to level the playing field for a lot of different disciplines, right? When we talk about specialties between practice areas. But what's ultimately going to come more into focus is going to be judgment. And it's not simply going to be, he has the knowledge or she has the knowledge. It's going to be, what do you do with the knowledge, right? Like
Mhm.
they know this is taxable, not taxable
Right.
is great.
Right.
You're no better off, right? The AI will help with the speed of that.
Mm-hmm.
But where we're actually going to be able to shine is now, well, what do we do with that?
Right.
And that's going to be the beauty.
So if we now take a look at this from the perspective, I think we can agree that um, I think what we have to all take account for is that there were 340,000 accountants that left during COVID. We still have a significant imbalance of the work that's needed to get done versus the number of accountants that are here
Mm-hmm.
in the supply and that will be here in the future because the enrollments still haven't caught up.
Right.
So I think one of the things we have to really look at for like the future is to also speak in ways that are authentic,
Mm-hmm.
because we cannot continue to disillusion these people that have hope, and then they come into the profession, and then they find that what they're
It's
hearing,
what you heard.
yeah, this is what you heard, but now you're not seeing it,
Of
right? And
course.
we see all of this live on you Going Concern or
Yeah.
Reddit, right? And so when we go back in time, and let's go back to you now, because I
Uh-oh.
do think it's still very similar in terms of how you can get disillusioned, right? So you come to WIS.
Yep.
Talk to me about what you thought of life as a 25 to 30-year-old. What was the things that you really embraced at WIS, and then as we move along, I want to also look at those tests like, when all of a sudden was it like, oh, like, I don't know if I signed up for this.
That's a good line of questions.
Yeah.
So if I take myself back, I was just excited. Again, I think to be valued, right? Like you go to college, you're like, I need there's a need that you're fulfilling, and I need to be a provider and, get a good job and be needed. And so initially at WIS, the camaraderie is what was there. It was just evident. Like, man, I made and still hold some of my best friends in my life, right, to today. And so that was awesome. And I gravitated towards the work, and there was no lack of work, which was very comforting at that point, because I was kind of like, if I show up every day, I could work 15 hours a day and never be done. And so there's a comfort in work, at least for me, there was. And at a point, you start to get to like, all right, what's next? Like there's the stages to your career and to your life and everything, and you get kind of really good at something, and you naturally start to get inquisitive about what's coming next. And there's points in accounting where you would ask yourself, I asked myself, like, truthfully, if I'm being honest, like, what the hell am I doing? Like, if
do you remember a time when you asked that question?
Yeah.
Tell me.
Like, at the risk of being way open.
You have to be authentic to the audience here.
Yeah. I would say to myself, if a client only knew, would kind of be the line I would use. Like, if they only knew. So, good example. Everyone's used tax software. And the biggest, for me, challenge was to get the balance sheet to balance when you hit the calculation button, so that you knew you had the balance sheet right and the P&L could be backed into, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'd spend on times 16 to 20 hours chasing $180 through a balance sheet in a tax software. And for people that haven't been in it, that don't understand, is like, it's like whack-a-mole. You think it's as simple as like chucking the 180 in somewhere, but you chuck it in and then 90 pops out the other side. And you're kind of like, so you you try to explain this to somebody and they're like, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. But if you didn't live trying to balance a balance sheet in the old tax softwares, like I remember distinctly thinking, like, what the hell are you doing? And that would be sometimes days.
I remember you'd have to divide by 9 or something like that.
To figure out whether or not it was a transposition error, like all the.
But stay there for a second, right? Has that tool gotten better?
Not one bit.
Not one bit.
No.
Okay. So to a degree, I think we all have gotten to this point where you kind of have this feeling that you're known for this, right? Like, you're a CPA and I'm the most trusted advisor, I'm the experienced. And you almost seem sometimes like a fraud.
Well, the imposter syndrome.
There you go. Bingo.
Gigantic across.
I wanted you to say it.
All right, across life in general. Right?
And I think that's, again, and I want to stop there for a second, because I believe that's what is a contributor to the soullessness that we feel at times. That, as you said there before, for you personally, if I'm hearing you right, it's not the work hours. It wasn't the effort. No. It was this feeling of, am I really doing my craft to the level of standard I want to be doing it at? And knowing that you're not.
Right. The question is like, would I have bought the last 8 hours from me?
Yeah.
Right?
I know.
And so the hard part is, well, somebody had to do it. It had to get in correctly at some point. And so the options are handwritten paper, and this was clearly an advantage to handwritten paper tax returns, but it didn't come without significant limitations also. Like, it didn't transform it where now everything just became digitized and you were, ultimately efficient. And
right.
So I found a lot of waste of time, like just non-value added by way of the client relationship, non-value added to my professional career. Like, I didn't learn anything by figuring out that you've got to go to the B1 box to enter dividends, right? Or like that's not, no one should pay for that.
So what about from the standpoint of development? And you have your own internal development, and so you're finding ways to get better on your own. What about the environment that is also I think, and the way we talk about WIS a lot, is that we have an obligation
Yep.
to develop the people in the organization, and it's a continued effort for us to get better and better and better. And I really am proud of the fact that we have a group dedicated to this now, that spends their time thinking about what are the skills that we do need to bring to them and how do we set up training programs. But there's this everyday learning that is the most important,
Right.
and the supportive nature of people. What was it like working with different people?
So you learn a lot about yourself, you learn a lot about them, you learn a lot about working styles. And in most cases, you can get a lot of, I would say, good value, even out of working for different people that you might not see eye to eye with. And so we all grew up with certain partners, and you'd be like, oh, you'd see the phone, you'd see the name on the phone, you'd be like, oh,
no.
And, for a variety of reasons, some of them were so particular. I mean, I'll say it and you're going to remember who.
Yeah.
What color pencil you needed to have on the desk when you took notes, what the reconciliations need to be printed separate from the return when you walked in to go through them. But what you learned were that people love this craft, right? And they really, when you dedicate your life to something, you make it your own, and you're going to deliver what they believed it took to get the clients the results they wanted. And so, but I do believe in working for a variety of people, you really do learn a lot, because partners are generally made because of their expertise in a certain division, right? Whether it's manufacturing. And so when you work for a certain partner that's a specialist in real estate, you're going to learn something different from the partner that's a specialist in, you pick the other designation. And so tremendous value in working for a variety of people.
And what was your experience like with the ways in which you felt they were responsible for your development?
It was very varied. So totally honestly, I could point to like you, Jim Duffy, and Jim Duffy and you.
That's a challenge. Which is a challenge, and why is that? Why is that answer, okay, not broader? More that you would think of. How many people you think you've worked with over the span of your
more
career?
than 1,000, definitely more than 1,000.
So why is that?
Protectionism. Value is in the what I know and what you don't, right? Like you think about the silo of what's existed to today, and I think just generally people feel like that's the value, not the collaboration and the client experience and all of those things being the value. So in the old, I was extremely valuable because I had this and you didn't. And I could give you what you needed to get out of it. And I also just think personality traits, you're a very benevolent guy, right? Duffy, the same. Like he is a stoic, but he's very much at the forefront of human development, has always challenged me to be thinking about development even from early in my career. So you have an innate want to help people, which I also definitely carry, like something. And so I couldn't imagine a world that existed. I would love for everybody to be that way. And I think it's the culture that we've been building here. And that's why people feel so comfortable here in learning, and they're able to learn so quickly. But it wasn't widespread, my belief, because of personality traits of people that were leaders here, as well as the desire or the thought that they needed to control what they had as their special skill. And that was their value. And if I give this up, then what about me? And not recognizing fully that that's, if you could train 38 people to do what you do, how much more you could grow and give them better opportunities. And anyway, that's the way I see the world.
Was there ever a time where you felt I've got to leave?
I would say twice.
Okay.
Where it was real.
Yeah.
So, and it's funny, most of it was rooted in relationships, which it probably is. So probably about, and this is circa 2004-ish, I had like my group. So I had you guys, but you guys were always like 4 or 5 years ahead of me. And then you've got your like immediate cohort that you're kind of, out to lunch with every day, doing all those things. And you may remember the period, they kind of all left. Like just at one point we had different leadership and it wasn't a great place to work. And despite what you guys were doing, we couldn't all just work on your jobs. So you'd be forced to work with a lot of other
Yeah.
people. And so they left. And I took that as a signal like, all right, are you the idiot? You're here, or
Yeah.
you're not. And what really exacerbated it, though, what made it like pointed, is I have a really, really close friend, college roommate, guy I spent a ton of time with. We graduated together, and he took a position as a financial advisor. And we're sharing a shore house, and we're there, and he's like, I gotta ask you a question, man. It's like, I'm like 5 years in, and I still haven't worked a night. I've never worked a Saturday. Every Friday night, you got to leave early. You got to go to work on Saturday. Like, what are you doing? He's like, I hope you're making a ton more than I am. And I wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember thinking, oh, dude, what are you doing? You got to. So I actually soon thereafter left WIS early one day, went into Manhattan, went on an interview at a hedge fund, met with the CFO, met with the accounting team. We went out for a happy hour after. It was awesome. We had a great day. And I came back and I went and I talked to Duff, and I'm like, hey, look, I'm really kind of like weighing this heavily. Like, it's significantly more money. They've explained kind of my role, my job, and it's enticing. And he said, he's like, look, if you really think like that's where you belong, you should go do it. You're young. You got a whole career to figure out what you want to do. But like, if that's what you think, you should do it. And I went home and I talked to my father, and I was kind of like the whole, this is a big decision for me. Career is very important to me. And the word that came back, that as you asked the question comes back to me, was, where do you belong? And when I actually sat down, I felt like I did this, but I didn't actually like do it. I didn't like do the exercise, but I didn't belong at the hedge fund. I just didn't. It wasn't me.
Mm-hmm.
For all the things it was and all the things I am, that wasn't right. And this was right.
Mm-hmm.
And I went back and I talked to Duff, and I committed to WIS, and I just said, I get how shitty it is, a lot of this stuff. And I don't know why, but this is where I belong.
Mm-hmm.
And it was that belonging that kept me in the game. And
It's really cool.
That was the first, like,
All right, let's hear the second.
oh man, this one I still have thought. So this one never came from anywhere in particular, like any feelings. But you get to a point you're working, and you're always like, all right, what's next? Again, like you're an audit guy. Excuse me, you're in audit. What's next? I'm going to be a reviewer. Then I'm going to be a partner. Then I'm going to. So I had been at the level of partner, and I got enamored in the VC world, and I was doing a lot of work with startup companies. And I got the chance to meet a company in Philadelphia very early on, and they explained to me what they were building. And immediately, very rarely have I brought investment opportunities to clients.
Mm-hmm.
They were raising capital, and I brought this to people. I was like, this idea, this just makes a whole lot of sense. And I started to do work for goPuff directly for Raf and Yakir, and we were the first accounting firm there, and spent a lot of time with those guys to the point where I slept on Yakir's couch the night before they raised the Series B. And they took me to dinner at one point. It was actually Raf only. It was not Yakir. And he was like, you got to come and be our CFO. Like I know you got the accounting firm. I know you got, you'd be nuts. We are the most exciting startup on the East Coast, maybe in the United States. And you'd have an opportunity to grow right from the beginning with us. And I wore that one for a while. Like, I had strong consideration about doing it, and ultimately didn't for the same reasons. It was like not a fear of leaving. It wasn't like, because I'm pretty open, I would say. It was more of like similar. Like, I don't belong there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is where I belong. This is where my people are. This is like what I just feel like the word calling isn't right. That's not, it's ridiculous to say like having a calling to be an accountant.
No, it's not.
But I feel like I have a calling, like the place where I feel the strongest.
But why?
Why what?
Why is it like you said that, which I love, because again, a lot of times that when you think about why people do what they do, there's intrinsic reasons, really, right? A lot of people look to the extrinsic, but it's really intrinsic. There's something intrinsically when you say belonging.
Right.
What is it that you feel is giving you that belonging?
So it's clearly the relationships that we all share, and ultimately the driver of what I'll call, for lack of a better word, helping.
Right.
I've always felt strongest with when the response is, and it doesn't need to be a response, but a thank you is the appropriate response. Like always in a servant capacity. That's always been my most favored position. It's where, again, I feel the strongest. And so I couldn't see that in the role at CFO at a private company in that industry in the same way that now again, I'm sure I would have created value and felt valued and all of those things. So not to knock anybody that's in that role, but just for me, where I felt like I belonged and what I needed to be doing, it was in the public side of the house.
And I believe it's your calling, which is a great thing. I mean, in that, WIS gets that benefit for sure. And the clients, really more so. Yeah. But I think I've seen you grow and continuing to grow, which is great too, because I think one of the things that's really cool from my perspective, and you've seen me, we see each other grow and develop, and we've made many mistakes, and we have each other that we get to learn from, and that's a wonderful thing. I think the belonging there is also important because it does allow vulnerability to grow and to be able to share in those tough times. Because I've seen you when you've had the toughest times, and I really tried to get this across in the piece, has been when you let down a client.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a disaster.
There's no feeling like it. I just can't. I feel the ultimate responsibility, which is a difficult thing because
that's an intrinsic thing.
Well, you're
because I feel the same way, believe me, and so does Duffy. I mean, we get bonkers when we feel like we let down a client.
It's one of the worst feelings you could have is letting somebody letting somebody down, and the difficulty is the art of orchestrating all the things that are needed to be able to deliver the outcome to the client. So there are going to be mistakes. It's a law of averages, right? Like no one is perfect. No one is 100% of the time.
Right.
So they're going to occur. And no matter what work we do to ensure they're not going to happen, that's just not reality. They're going to happen.
Well, can we stay there for a second?
Yeah.
Because I think it's important that we give context to that. I spoke about on the prior episode when I was doing my soliloquy that we have an equilibrium problem, and we've had an equilibrium problem. And this just isn't for public accounting. It's accounting at private companies. Right. It's accounting at public companies. It's accounting in the not-for-profit world. It's accounting in the government world, right? It is that and when I talk about equilibrium, I think the best example I can give is current state, where you think about the ability to produce content nowadays far exceeds the ability of a human being to consume the content in a ratio that is in balance with the increase that's happened in the content creation, right? Our ability to read and digest information has not changed. I mean, maybe over long cycles of time, the Darwinian principle kicks in evolution, and we get better.
We'll be dead by then.
But you know that. I mean, I'm always behind on reading, and I print articles, and you see my desk, and I have books that I want to get to. So clearly that we just can't consume the amount of information that's being created.
Right.
Okay. And when we think about accounting, a lot of people don't think about when you say that it's hard to be 100% right. It's hard for, I think, people to be like, well, that's your job. But what they're not understanding is it's impossible, okay? Right. And this is what creates to this feeling of helplessness, the soullessness, right?
Sure.
Because over time, again, even take into account the number of accounts that have left, but just forget that for a second. just think about the complexities as to what has occurred from so much more data,
Yeah.
so much more regulation, and so much more expectations on timeliness.
Yeah.
Okay. And the way and responsiveness and the way that information is thrown at us is no longer through the mail.
Right.
It's not,
Right.
here's my package. It's laid out. It's piecemeal. It's this way. It's every way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that we have a real equilibrium problem.
We do.
Which ultimately is going to lead to mistakes. It's impossible, right? So when we have the imbalance that exists from all of this information that we are trying to bring into insights,
Mm-hmm.
we are trying to be able to bring into production of a return, a production of a financial statement, it's imbalanced, right?
Right.
And then when you look at the middle and you say, okay, well, that's where tools come in. We've been handicapped. We have absolutely been without any innovation
Yeah.
for years that has allowed us to look at this world and say, oh, now I could be as powerful as I possibly can because I have the tools that
Right.
allow me to take all this data, assemble it, put it in the right places, digest, right? And everyone is asking for us to do it faster with more reliability, accuracy, right? You see it even in the public markets world where time and time again, it's the auditor did this, the auditor missed this, right? And it's because like no one's talking about why.
Right.
You know, it's almost like, well, it's because they're paid a fee and there's
Right.
that's not it. Nobody really wants to screw it. I mean, yeah, there's
Those
people
are
that are
outliers.
those are
right?
outliers, right?
That's
For the
not-
most part, it's just we
right.
can't keep up.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so I think when you go back to that soullessness feel of never feeling like you're going to do a great job because you've been without tools and you know that you want to do a great, like in you is to want to do a great job,
Right.
but it's really difficult.
It is. It is. And that's where the hope for some of the new tools is, right? I mean, obviously, it's to help balance the equilibrium problem, allow for the ingestion more rapidly, more accurately, so that you can spend time actually working. And when I say working, I mean on like efficient, productive work
Right.
that clients would buy and want to buy.
And,
actively.
and I think structurally, this is where again, like the struggle comes from. And look, we are really trying to do, like, and this is what I was trying to get across, right? So we're trying to do this here, where we see the tools, and the creation of WIS Labs has really helped us, and being able to really experiment for the past few years and bring some of these tools. We're starting to bring them in, which
Yeah.
is really giving us. Again, I like to think of it as. You know, you have Tesla, and then you have like this. They've been working on this self-driving and how. Oh my God, that thing's incredible. But that's us with WIS Labs. We've really been trying to create this intelligence.
Correct.
You know, this which is happening. We see it live, and you know that's going to be wonderful. We're powering WIS with this WIS Labs, and but you know, if we didn't think about the things you were talking about, creating opportunities for the belonging, of the collaboration, of the sharing of information across teams,
Mhm.
right? It limits your ability to use these tools.
Without a doubt. It benefits from context, right? So the context is the ultimate helper for AI. And what's, in my opinion, going to be the thing that ultimately keeps us secure in a job, right? So when they think about, or I think about, accounting is going to be decimated and killed, and you know you should quit and sell the firm. I think the hardest part to recognize is the amount of context that goes into advice for a client. And so you always say, like, the older terms, like, you can't advise in a vacuum. When you know this, it's very difficult to advise unless you know everything. And so the context becomes the most important part of our job, knowing how to use that context. And it becomes so much more evident when you have people that aren't willing to share the context,
Yeah.
or don't see the value in sharing it. So sometimes when you get into a conversation with somebody and they share less, and it's kind of like the information as you need it, as opposed to just being open, the amount of things that are discovered by just discussion when people say it, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I didn't realize you, right? How many times that happened in your life? And it turns out to be a really valuable piece. That's applicable here, 10 times over, that
Right.
when a client has an experience and you have specialists in each area with differing knowledge, not only of their expertise, but knowledge of the client. Oh, I spoke to them a year ago and Barbara moved to Minnesota. Oh, nobody, right? Like that context is lost, and there's no way for AI to ask every potential question of every potential circumstance to know. So anyway, long-winded way to say
No,
the
not at all.
context is really like going to be the most
It is,
valuable
and I
part.
think that what we're trying to get at is that you have to create a sharing environment, because again, a lot of workflows in public and private companies, it's just that it's in people's minds, it's in their heads, it's not written anywhere, right? So you have to start to really think about culturally, what do you need to do to start breaking down silos, start breaking down information that's stored in people's minds, okay? And a lot of people, if they feel insecure and if they feel like my job's in jeopardy, it is, because again, there's going to be an unwillingness to really collaborate. But I feel that if you don't start working on these things culturally and structurally, you're going to be at a huge disadvantage.
I firmly agree. If you operate in a minimalist way of thinking, right, in a scarcity environment, that's extremely unhealthy for a company, for almost any company, in where we're headed, with information being, the most available. And if you just think about the early indicators that we have right now regarding software development. So clearly from the beginning, there's been discussion that software developers are irrelevant in 6 months. So if you were to take that as gospel and you thought about that, you would predict that by today, we'd have a significant reduction in the amount of software developers as well as open development positions. But right, what we found is exactly the opposite, is that with the advent of AI and the ability to create more, there's a stronger desire and need for software developers. It's similar to the point that Matt Harp made when he was speaking on CNBC about accounting and the replacement of accounting. And his point that is so important is there's not enough accounting being done today to even be replaced.
Right.
So the evidence that I can't remember what governmental agency it was, the Fed hasn't passed an audit in 8 years. That's a result of a failure of accounting, right? And so that's not a unique circumstance. There's failures of accounting all over the place. And I think that people also conflate the idea that that type of accounting is what clients want to pay for. Clients want to pay for intelligence, and intelligence becomes available after the accounting is done, right? The accounting is I would say, the allocation of the expenses and income to tell the story of the company. I don't know the definition I just made up, but it's what follows that they will buy. They want to buy. What does this mean now? And what if X?
Yeah.
So in any case, I think that there's going to be a whole lot learned from people that are open and sharing in this environment. And the ones that do it and embrace it are going to be light years ahead of the ones that operate in the scarcity environment with their silo and their knowledge. They're going to find themselves with a piece of knowledge that's becoming rapidly less valuable as we progress.
Agree. And I think just, maybe this could be like, start to wrap up, but I think the last, point I really want to make on this, which I think is a big one, is that you are going to be working more for a while. Not less.
Really?
And the reason for that is, like, even here, right? And I spoke about this again, just like to try to, I always want to be authentic with our people, right? So it's like, we're going to be working harder because you have to run parallel paths, right? There's the ways of which you've always done things, and you got to get things done, and you have to, make sure that we're doing whatever's possible to deliver to our clients and to have it with utmost quality, right? So all that exists, but at the same time, we have to develop skill sets that are different than the skill sets we have today, right? So we have to not only learn the AI, but it's going to change what is ultimately our role, because our roles are going to get changed, right? They're going to evolve.
Yeah.
And so to do that, though, you're going to need to have more time. And you're going to have more, and when you start really working with AI, it actually creates more scenarios for you. It creates more work. It creates more thinking, right? So you're not going to have less to do. No. You're going to have more to do. You're going to have more priorities And so I think what I really want to get across to everyone is as you start thinking about what is it that you need to do to prepare your accounting and finance department, your company, your firm, whatever it may be, you have to think about that. You have to think that you're going to be adding pressure to the organization
Sure.
with a lot of pressure on people to begin with, especially in accounting.
Right.
Okay. So my point here is that we have to also allow for time for them to develop the skills.
I know, and it's tough because
Yeah.
I'm an impatient guy.
Well, not only
No
that,
matter
but
what
I
I
think when
present
you
to
think about,
be.
well, just think about like what's happening in our world
Yeah.
and in a lot of people's worlds, right? So you have private equity come in.
Right.
What do they want?
Strong demands, immediate revenue growth, immediate cost reductions, right? Like these things, they'll tell us they're going to take some time, but it's within months, right? They're going to be looking for it's an increase in investment.
Right. So what is the number one thing that you feel you're at a PE company and you are running that organization and you have
Oh, chuck some AI in there.
yeah. No, but I was
people,
right. Like
I
the
mean,
investors, like they want a return.
Of course, that's the only thing they have. So the difference is my fulfillment comes from a client that expresses gratitude for the work that we've done and given them a good life. Private equity doesn't get that. They don't get a thank you. They don't get a you've spent your life doing this work and we're better for it. The only way they participate is in a transaction. So I understand their position and why they push for it. It's just not what we do. It's not what I push for.
And that's fundamentally what I want to, kind of leave with is just that I've known you for a long time, and what really has driven you is you are on cloud 9 when you deliver value to someone, when you've helped someone internally, someone that's a client, whatever it may be, right? And you'll even learn things that are way outside your scope to be able to engage in something meaningful for someone, right? And I think that when I think of you and I think of the pressures, if the pressures were solely on you being a producer and judged by the quantity of hours, the dollar value of your cost run, the number of clients you brought in, and I don't see you ever on cloud 9.
No, it's like, to use your word, soul crushing. It feels soulless. Like I can't measure it that way. If I measure things that way, I'd be in a different career.
Right.
I'd be chasing different things. I'd be just a different person, and that's not me, right? Like, so we all go through this and we choose our own path and our own way. And I'm just thankful that like I've been able to take the time to identify what is me and what is not me. And I agree with that. And I had a point for you earlier, but you were on a roll. I didn't want to interrupt you. And it made me think about it when you say like there's more to do, and AI allows for that. The way that because I ruminate and go down the path sometimes of like, oh, again, you start listening to your own bullshit. I would say like you'll allow that part to win for a bit. But when I counter that, I think about my to-do list. So I come in and I typically prepare my to-do list at night right before I leave. So that when I walk in, I'm like, all right, I got these. And do you ever have a day you're like, I got to race through, I got to get these things done, right? Like that's pretty common. When you race through them,
We'll have to edit that one.
when you race through them, are you done? Or do you immediately say, all right, I finished for today. I'm going to prepare my to-do list for tomorrow. So the endless to-do list is solely, I would say, limited by the ability of my mental capacity to put them on paper and then actually transact those things. But I have an unlimited to-do list that if I spent the time thinking that and pushing those tasks through, there's client satisfaction at the other end of that, right? There's productivity. There's all those things. There's all those other things that are currently at the mercy of the limit of time and mental capacity and all of those things, right? So anyway, it was a point that I wanted to make earlier when you were talking about that. That's really helped me calm down when I get excited about these things.
Yeah, and I think just to, to wrap, I think ultimately what we want to do, and it's always been rooted in, I believe, our belonging, okay? Our belonging is that we've always believed that there's a better way to do this. Like there is a better way to do accounting. There is a better way to run an accounting organization. There's a better way to run your accounting and finance department.
Right.
We are there. We are there, okay? And we want to focus in on how do we improve the life of an accountant.
Right.
And stay with that. And not, yes, all the dollars and the cents matter, right? Sure. You have to have profitable organization. You got to judge the metrics. I understand all of that. But the mission right now has to be, and how do we improve the life of the accountant? And if you, I believe if we focus in on that, and other organizations start to focus in on that, it will put pressure on innovation. It will put pressure on finally providing the tools that are necessary for people to start to feel, I am really good at what I do. Because instinctually, intuitively, they are. They pass the CPA exam. These are smart people.
These are difficult things.
Yeah, but they spend most of their life feeling like I'm not good enough, I'm letting people down, and that I never feel fulfilled.
Right.
And as a result of this lack of fulfillment, with no one's talking about, right? Because everything is great in our culture. We got a ping pong table. We have free snacks. Like, oh my God, our coffee.
You need more than that.
I know. And that's not what it is. It's really trying to get to that place where people do feel empowered. You know, and I use the analogy in the writing, in my intelligent ledger piece, that basically it's asking Michael Jordan to wear flip-flops, sandals, and go play pickup, and let's see how great you are.
Still smoke me.
Well, me too.
But no, I completely
and then all of a sudden
understand.
you give him Nike shoes. I mean, come on. Like it's a huge difference in how he feels about his capabilities.
Right. Yeah. I am in the same camp. I think that we are in the bottom of the first inning with showing what accounting is. Like, I think that it's very misunderstood at this point. It's been an anomaly. It's been anomalous. It's been like a black box.
Shoved to the back.
Well, because it's been
just shoved to the back.
It's been annoying. Like, it makes sense. It's accounting's annoying. They're asking too many questions, right? Like, so I could see the operator's perspective of that. And it's because it's not been helpful. It's been historical. And the forward-looking stuff stinks. The forward-looking stuff is pie in the sky. You prepared it 2 months ago. It's not accurate. You can't have actual. So, like, I understand the operators of, like, look, you know what
You're right,
do?
and we're going to change that.
I use my gut.
We're changing that.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I actually, with a straight face now, can say we are. The month-end meetings that I sit in with clients are progressing month to month from rent expense was up 2% because you had a CAM adjustment. Like, that's gone. That is gone. There are still, unfortunately, clients that aren't ready to move to the next level because they're not ready to adopt the new way. But the ones that are, the conversations are purely strategic. What was ad spend last month? What was return on investment? Where did we target? How do we? It's to get them to the right answer of yes or no on next month's spend.
Right.
If you don't have your books closed till the 20th of the month, you're 2/3 of the way into that ad spend already. You have no idea whether you want to redo it.
And that's our mission.
It's a cycle.
We got to help there.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah,
we will.
No question. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a great conversation. See you all next week.
Yep.
That's a wrap on This Week in Accounting AI. If you found this useful, make sure to follow us. On Spotify, smash that follow button on our show page. And on Apple Podcasts, tap the plus sign and leave us a quick rating while you're there. I'm Paul Peterson. See you next week.